an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 12, Bad Wolf. In this episode, I demand to know what in the Black Mirror is going on here. This was an anxiety dream come to life. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
And I am Jamie.
And yeah, guys, the way this episode started is so disorienting and very effective because they're trying to do the thing where you feel what the character is feeling. Mission accomplished. Total anxiety and panic is what I was feeling because I could not figure it out. I even thought for a second that I had started an episode past where we were supposed to be and had missed one, which I have done before. I think The Wire. But, yeah, this was...
No, you did it with Black Mirror.
Well, definitely Black Mirror, I realized while I was watching it, I was watching the wrong one. But Black Mirror is at least self-contained episodes.
Yeah.
Where the story does not continue. I think it was The Wire where I was, like, watching it, and as I, got 10 minutes into it, I was like, none of this makes any sense. This doesn't... What do you... And then I checked with Rashawn and she was like, girl, that's the wrong one. But yeah, this was really dark, guys. It's pretty dark stuff. Yeah. Ouch.
I think also some of it, because Big Brother's a thing here, but it's huge in the UK.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's huge. And then The Weakest Link, which came over here as well, was a huge game show there. So the references, I think, would be a bit more important to a British audience.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Because even the other androids, like, obviously there's the android pun, which is pretty good.
Which, again, I've never watched any of these, so
I
had to kind of be like, I guess the original host's name is Anne?
Yes.
Because I didn't know that, and I don't know anything about, I've never watched Big Brother. I've never watched any of these shows.
I've never watched Big Brother, but I did watch the American Weakest Link, which had her as the host.
Okay.
And she says that, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. So I got that, and I was like, oh, clever. But the little droids that are with Jack are also based on some hosts of What Not to Wear in the
Okay,
UK.
I've watched that one, but not the UK one, but yeah.
Right. So they're like robot versions of those ladies. And that's all stuff that went right over my head.
All right, that's fun. They needed a Great British Bake Off. Please.
It was a little before that time, but
oh, that would have been so funny.
Maybe in one of the newer seasons they'll get to that.
It was a bad bake, Zap.
Imagine the Paul Hollywood droid. I feel orange.
Oh my god, did you see that this season? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. This is not the Great British Bake Off show. But there is a point where Paul Hollywood steps in front of the camera, and I yelled and paused it and made Owen come and see because he got so over-tanned.
Yes.
It looked crazy. It looked like somebody had covered him in shoe polish. It was terrible. And with his white hair, his silvery mane, it just looked extra he looked like a friggin' anime character or something.
It made his eyes really, really blue, too.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that he gets high on how blue his eyes look.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but there's more to you than just your eyes, and that makes the rest of it look crazy.
As I referenced when you told me how you felt about this before, it reminds me of when Ross got way too tan on one side of his body on Friends.
I forgot
And
about
Chandler
that.
asked him if he got his tan on the sun.
Oh God. Okay. So we start off this episode with like the recapping of the long game episode.
Yes.
And so
they don't do those very often.
Yeah, they don't, and you know, whenever it's something that specific, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're revisiting this or whatever. But I still, like, even armed with that bit of insight, it was not really enough, like, to make sense of how this starts. Because the first thing that happens is the Doctor waking up in this tiny little chamber that looks like a dressing room almost, and he's yelling, "What's happening?" And you know what I'm noticing as I'm rewatching this, he steps out of that room and collapses, and there are all of these like mod paintings on the wall, on one side that look like the front of the Daleks.
Really?
There's a little bit of a hint there. I feel like they're doing.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's falls on the ground. And this girl comes out and tells him, "They never said you were coming. You've been chosen. And the transmat really can scramble your head." So it's like she knows what's going on. But of course I'm thinking as I'm watching this, what she thinks is going on can't actually be what's happening. Because whatever she thinks is going on is way too like routine.
Yeah.
For somebody who is not a member of any certain planet to be chosen for this thing. And yeah, is Big Brother, is like the place furnished in this bananas manner where there's like hand chairs everywhere?
I don't know because I've never watched it.
It's upsetting and I dislike it very, very much. The walls are lime green, the couch is purple, the carpet's red. There's a yellow hand chair on one side, and all the hands like have their fingers parted in different ways, which I find extra creepy for some reason. So some of them are doing like the Spock thing. Some of them are doing like the two fingers touching in the middle. Some of them have like one finger. It's just, there's something so upsetting about the whole apartment. That combined with the fact that he just shows up in this place that he's totally unfamiliar with, it was really like the start of a nightmare.
Yeah.
Ugh, I can't handle it. I don't like the being dropped into the middle of something and having to figure it out while everybody else knows what they're doing. I mean, who does? But I
and
feel
do
like that's
they
a
know
very
what they're
specific
doing?
thing.
They're like just sitting back while people get killed.
That's kind of like, they know what they're doing in that they know what the stakes are, I guess. But yeah, they don't know what they're doing in that they have been brainwashed to think that all of this is normal. And, you know, I'm about to get ahead of myself. And so, yeah, he gets summoned to sit in another one of those damn hand chairs, but like a giant one. And is told that he is live on channel 44,000 or something. Please do not swear. Which I thought was amazing.
He's like, you've got to be kidding.
And then we go to the credits. And then Rose wakes up. And she's in another situation. And this one is so much worse. I hate it so much.
Can you imagine being on a trivia show, but like hundreds of years in the future?
No. That, again, actual nightmare material.
Did you recognize the guy who is competing with her?
Yeah, this guy is in Firefly?
No.
I believe. He's not on Firefly?
He is.
Oh, he's the guy from Leftovers. Yes, that's what it is. Because I was like, I know that he played a creep. But yeah, the Firefly guy was a whole other creep. That's the other guy. The one from Love Actually, I think.
That's Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he's in Serenity. He's in the movie.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I think he was in an actual episode as well.
No,
though.
that's another guy who I cannot think of who that is, but that guy plays Jubal Early, and it's neither of these guys.
Oh, okay. God.
I know
All
a
right.
lot about Firefly.
Jubal Early. That's the name, because he's a creep. And yeah, this guy has a creepy look on his face. He's got that creep vibe, man. They keep making him...
it's hard to trust him because of The Leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, even though I feel like I'm one of very few people who watched the show Timeless, but he's on that, and he initially seems like he's a bad dude, but he's actually a pretty good dude. But it takes a while to get there. And when he showed up, I was like, "Oh, bad news, bad news."
Yeah, so he tries to, reassure her that, it's the trans mat. It does your head in, as they say, to which I'm like, mm-hmm.
I like that phrase, and I would like to start using it more.
I like that phrase. I also like, it's a bit pants, isn't it? To mean terrible. There's just something so simple about it. A bit pants. Or it looks like a dog's dinner. But I'm getting all of these from Great British Bake Off, if y'all couldn't tell. And Rose, of course, is totally disoriented, does not know how she got here or where she is. And there is this huge platform with all of the lights behind it and a camera and the whole deal, which is obviously somewhat familiar to her.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just so, like, the whole thing is so surreal. And as a viewer, I'm like, so people who don't win die. Like, this is what I'm assuming immediately. And it was so awful to watch her thinking that this is just a game and voting for this woman later on, because she, we kind of have our suspicions about what's going on. But, oh my God, it's so heartbreaking. This woman that she's trying to just be like, I had to vote for you. This is just how it goes. And watching this woman break down and looking at her like, what in the world is the matter with her? Like, oh girl, you better get out of there, but there's nowhere to go. And
she's laughing through the whole thing because she knows, I'm not going to win this. I don't know anything.
Yep.
Who knows when I am or where I am, and I'm not going to know the answer. So she's just laughing, thinking I'll get voted off. It's no big deal.
Oh my God. Poor Rose. Meanwhile, Captain Jack seems to have gotten the better deal out of all of them.
This is my favorite Captain Jack moment in anything. And it's what I always search for a GIF of anytime I have to talk about him.
Does exactly what it says on the tin. He's just standing there buck-ass naked. Ladies, your viewing figures just went up. And I was like, is that what you call it? Viewing figures?
I read that this is the only time that the BBC had a problem. And it's because when they originally shot it, it was pretty much full nude. It's the only time the BBC stepped in and said, no.
Oh, man, come on, guys.
I know, let me see
we
some
can't
booty.
Get a little more beefcake? Get a little bit of cakes with that beef? Yeah, I mean, it's very amusing at first, and I just, they kept saying things about how they were going to, change his jawline and stuff, and I was like, if we just pretend we didn't hear that part, can we keep on with this fun part where they're just choosing outfits?
It's a little pirate mixed with President Schwarzenegger. Didn't they know what we were in for? God. Although we'd probably be better off with President Schwarzenegger, all things considered.
Schwarzenegger seems to be trying.
I mean, he wasn't great as California's governor, but he wasn't Trump, so.
But yeah, this ends with them being like, maybe we'll put your feet on your chest or remove your head entirely. Nothing is too outrageous. And I'm just like, oh God. I guess he doesn't need to be alive in the end? The makeover is to his corpse?
I think the whole point of this entire Satellite 5 situation is to kill everyone.
Yeah,
for
I guess so.
Viewing pleasure?
Yikes.
Question mark?
Which apparently is like, yeah, it is a pleasure for someone. So it's like the friggin' Hunger Games.
Yeah.
But, you know, way, way more widespread. So I'm trying to like figure out where because we have this one girl asking the doctor how everybody at home sees her.
Yeah.
Because of course she assumes that he's like back from Earth, having being somebody who was watching the show. And when he is thinking back, he's like remembering this really bright light that somehow interrupted the progress of the TARDIS, which means that it has to be like crazy strong, and that it had to have been targeting them specifically, which means that whoever wants him here wants him alive. So, and he doesn't even realize what the stakes are himself until one of the other girls gets voted off and gets zapped to dust in the disintegration chamber? I think that's what they call it.
I think so. I'm looking at my recap to see.
So everybody else is being actually disintegrated, but Rose is the only one that gets just zapped somewhere else, right?
The other, you can maybe guess that everybody else got zapped somewhere else too, just not to specifically where Rose was taken, or maybe they were all killed. Because if it, as we learned, spoiler, that it's Daleks, we know they don't care.
Right. Yeah, I've kind of like wanted to think if what was the creature inside the suit? He was a little like octopus man, right?
Yes.
Because I was like, for some reason, remembering wrong and thinking that there was like a brain in there. And then I was like, maybe they need brains. And they're turning every person that they like zap them somewhere and remove their brain and make a new Dalek soldier. But yeah, I guess not. Unless they can make brains into little octopus men, which I doubt.
It seems a little tricky. You might need hands for that.
I don't know if human beings can be servants. They don't seem to need anything. They're just machines.
They
need maintenance?
They're these maintenance.
You know, like
my blaster's not working.
Where's my blaster?
I don't know. The Daleks are what's inside the armor.
The armor, right?
Yeah. But I don't think that they're collecting humans to I think that they're probably killing everybody. And they wanted Rose because they want the Doctor.
I really if they were transporting everybody somewhere else, I just can't imagine what they'd even be doing with them. So I just have to assume that they're all dead.
Yeah, because they'd probably just transport them out into space and then they'd die anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, Rose is just laughing so hard, and somebody's like, how do I know? Or how should I know?
Yeah.
And then when we go to the people who are like running this show, there's a woman who's saying, why is she laughing? And then says, I think she knows. And I don't understand that sentence there. She thinks that Rose knows?
That's what I thought, but I wasn't. It was almost like they wanted us to start thinking ahead. Because that's before the first woman gets killed, right?
Yeah. But doesn't everybody who's playing know that they die? Why would it be...
Yeah, I think that they were referring to Rose, but it doesn't make sense. Why would she be laughing if she knows that people are going to die?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad that I didn't miss, because, I actually rewound that, and because I thought that they were trying to say that, she knows that this is all a big joke or something, because obviously at that point I did not know.
Right.
That somebody was going to die. I had assumed that, but when they said that, then it made me sort of rethink what I expected. And I was like, maybe they're not. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously, and this is all some sort of weird joke. But yeah.
They never say what you win, right? You just get to live?
You just get to live. Yeah. I think that the guy at one point says, and with a stack of credits or something.
Yes, he does.
So maybe maybe when you win that one, you do win something. But when the doctor asks specifically, the girl's like, he says, is that it? And she says, isn't that enough?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's different prizes depending on what game show you're on, which seems really shitty, frankly, but okay. And oh my God, I forgot about that moment where fucking, the two robots are talking to Captain Jack about getting cosmetic surgery, and he grabs her boobs. He grabs her robot boobs. And he's just like, what do you think? And I'm just like, oh, Captain Jack, keep your hands to yourself, sir. They may be robots, but still.
I know, as a feminist, I should be mad, and yet it made me laugh, and it always makes me laugh.
And then there's this like questioning of Rose in the like when they're asking her if she has a job.
Yeah.
And who she voted for, and she's like, well, I can't vote for myself, so I had to vote for someone. And the what I think turns out to be a Dalek that's like, because they're all shaped like them, right? So are they Daleks with other like pieces affixed atop them?
So. I think they're just androids.
Okay.
But that is a good observation. I didn't really think about how they're like small on top and wider on the bottom like a Dalek.
Yeah, I just kind of, when I was looking back at them, thought that's what they were.
I think it's all to make you start to wonder what's going on as we get closer to the end. And you start to think back at stuff like that. Like, and they were all shaped that way. There's all these little clues.
Yeah.
And I think on the Weakest Link, I think the host, Anne, whose last name I can't think of right now, I think she was pretty mean to the contestants in the way that that the android was being mean to Rose.
Oh, I got you. So when she's like, I'm not unemployed, I just travel. Well, do you have a job? No. Then you're unemployed. That kind of thing.
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
Huh. That seems amusing in its way. So yeah, this woman gets zapped, and Rose realizes what's going on. And one of the other dudes, who looks so much like Topher Grace to me, finally loses his mind and is like, I can't do this, and runs off. And he gets zapped as he's trying to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. After he gets zapped, the android says, goodbye.
Yep.
Like, it's not even quite goodbye, it's goodbye. And this really, like, I don't know, there was something really upsetting about it. Oh, God. Is the logo of the eye the Big Brother logo still?
Probably. Some way or another. It's funny because in the U.S. it's on CBS, whose logo is an eye.
Oh, God.
But I don't know enough about Big Brother to know if that was even actual symbolism or if it was made for this episode.
Yeah, guys, if you guys are from the UK and you have watched these shows over there and you see a bunch of like little like homages in the scenery or people or whatever, hit us up and let us know about them, because I'm really curious like how much effort they went to mirror things and how much they just sort of made up whatever. Yeah, this is just such a weird, and when they all say goodbye to this girl before she gets into the chamber, and the way it just feels like she's about to get on a plane or something, just like, thanks for the food, you're a smashing cook.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, it's just so, like, and they put their arms up and let her walk under them, which I don't know if that's a Big Brother thing.
I don't know. Is it a London Bridge thing?
I don't know. But
wasn't there a game when we were kids where, I don't know, maybe I made that up.
I think there is, where you lift your arms up and then you, like, drop it to catch somebody. And it's supposed to be you're trying to keep from getting caught in people's arms. But does not seem like what they were doing. And you know, again, the doctor is just being so dismissive of the whole thing because he just doesn't understand what's happening here. And then we go to the two crew members who are like, I don't know their names. There's a man and a woman, and he's saying that there's something hidden underneath the transmissions. And the woman says, but the controller will know. And he says, well, you've got to allow for human error. And she says, well, that's your problem then. I don't think she's been human for years. Which they say, like, and laugh. But once you see what the controller is, it's the most horrific shit in the entire universe. And these two should go right to hell. They should be thrown out the airlock, in my opinion. They are the worst. We're just doing our jobs. That right there means that you are no longer even allowed to talk to me.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good response.
Their names are... Oh.
Everybody on Earth is a potential contestant. The transmat beam picks you out at random, and it's non-stop. There are 60 Big Brother houses all running at once. They've had to cut back. It's not what it was. What does that mean?
Are their names Agorax and Fitch? I don't know.
I'm
There's
willing
some
to
weird
go with that.
names here because there's something that says female programmer and male programmer, and then Agorax and Fitch, Colleen and Broth. Like, what are these names?
Broth? Broth.
Yes. Oh, and Anne is Anne Robinson, and she did do the voice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And the androids, they were voiced by the women from their show as well.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fun. That's cool.
Oh, and the voice in the Big Brother house is the, I guess, host or whatever of Big Brother.
The voice?
Yeah.
What voice?
Probably the one that told him that he was on channel 44,000 and not to swear.
Oh, okay. Oh my god, I'm just looking at this stupid, horrible cactus sitting in the corner. Like, what even is this? It's too safe, too decent, and you never keep it clean. He's in the freaking tennis uniform, the tennis whites.
Yeah.
Guy. This is just so... I wish getting undressed you could just zap yourself. Trying on clothes wouldn't be so horrible then.
Yeah.
So she says, like, oh, okay, it's time for the face-off. And he's like, oh, sweet, do I have to fight somebody? And she's like, no, face off. And has 4 or 5 syringes on one of her, like, hands. And the other one, she's got, like, a friggin'...
chainsaw?
It was, I think, a chainsaw, yeah. And the other one has a giant pair of scissors and things. I think you'd look good with a dog's head. Or maybe no head at all. That would be so outrageous. We could stitch your legs to the middle of your chest. Nothing is too extreme. It's to die for. And he tells them that he doesn't want to have to shoot either one of them. And they laugh and say, but he's unarmed. But then he has a tiny gun.
Yeah.
And she says,
where did you get that from?
That's a compact laser deluxe. Where were you hiding that? You really don't want to know. Which, do you know what? Do you listen to any of the McElroy Brothers podcasts?
No.
Okay. They do something that I recommend if you folks aren't necessarily big fans of the podcasts, or if you are, check out the videos called Monster Factory, in which they go onto various video games, and when you can create your own character and, like, you know, make it look like whatever you want, they get high and make the craziest looking humanoid creatures you've ever seen, and it's hysterical. And I was watching one just like the night before last, and they figured out how to position a gun so that it was right between a character's butt cheeks. And they were saying so that, like, he can look like he's totally unarmed. He can be walking around starkers, and he's still got one hidden in the chambers, so to speak, like, kind of thing. And so when I saw this, I was just like, that is exactly what these guys are doing. It's like, they must not be Doctor Who fans, or else they would have known that that was something that had been done already. But that is the worst thing. He's got a tiny gun up his ass.
He gets it pretty quick, too.
Yeah, he does. And I'm just not going to look at that one too hard. Pun intended. But it's pretty good. He shoots the two of them, and like, it doesn't just like zap them. The whole top half of them is gone.
Yeah, it's a powerful little gun.
It is. So that was pretty satisfying and entertaining because, you know, at this point, I'm really in a situation here watching all of this where I don't know how anybody's getting out of any of this. So for him to finally have this, this get out of jail free card, so to speak, I was like, thank God we can end this madness and start like getting out of here, because otherwise I didn't know what any of them were going to do. Even the doctor, like at this point, I wasn't sure what his plan was to actually get out. He knew that he couldn't die. Like he had sort of started to like hint that that was his plan, was to like push them to admit that they couldn't eliminate him. But I didn't realize that he had figured out there was like an exit behind the door to the, basically an exit out the back of the disintegration chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So I really was like, yeah, I don't know. This was just a huge relief, is what I'm saying.
And the doctor like shoots one of the cameras with his sonic screwdriver to force an eviction.
Yeah. And because that was what the other girl had been ejected for, right?
Yes.
So he's just trying to do the fastest thing to...
The other Linda.
The other Linda. Oh, there were two Lindas?
Yeah, she says, when she's asking, like, what do people think of her? She's like, I'm Linda with a Y, not Linda with an I. She got evicted for deliberately, like, breaking something or defacing, destroying the property.
Gotcha. I love that. I'm Linda with a Y. Not Linda with a Y. Because that really would have to happen if you're having so many people come in and out and they're randomly chosen.
And if you're relying on people's votes.
Yeah. Huh, that's crazy. I just like little details like that. And again, guys who are watching this, if you watched Big Brother and there were two different Lindas on one season and it was a whole big thing and that's what they're referencing here, I want to know about it because I love weird details like that. So after feeling a surge of relief because Captain Jack gets out, we then go to a real bad situation with Rose because that is not going well. She has not figured out a way to get out. And it's just her versus Roderick.
Mm-hmm.
And Roderick is really unyielding in his like joy at having won. Because, spoiler alert, he wins. And I couldn't believe what an asshole he was. I hated him so deeply. He's like, she asks, why did you vote for Colleen? And he's like, well, because you're stupid. And when we get to the final, I want you to be the one I'm up against because then I'm guaranteed to get through. And then says that something about the Bad Wolf Corporation. And she's like, what does that mean? What do you, and he's like, what do you mean? What does it mean? That's the name of the station. And she keeps pushing him to be like, well, but where's it come from? He's like, I don't know what. I was like, yeah, like if somebody kept pushing me to tell you, like, the CW. I really don't know what the CW stands for. Do you know what this is?
No. The CW I don't know.
Okay. Because, yeah, why would you? You know what it is, and that's all you need to worry about. And she starts thinking back to all of the different places that Bad Wolf has popped up.
Mm-hmm.
And realizes that maybe she's not here by mistake after all.
Yep.
And maybe she's not here by mistake, but apparently she's not as valuable as the doctor. Because it's very easy to deal with her and have her be the loser. And, like, it turns out she winds up being somewhere else. But that's only after the Daleks, like, figure out what's going on, right? Like, because they've sort of started to zero in on the situation.
Well, I think that they brought the Doctor. I think the reason that the TARDIS and the inhabitants of the TARDIS are on this game station and separated and playing separate games is because the Daleks are trying to get the Doctor, and they know that he usually has a companion. So
I thought that he was brought there by the controller, and she hid them in the games because she says the Daleks don't watch the games.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. I think I missed that when I was rewatching today. Yeah, they're hidden by sunspots or the solar flare. And so while the solar flare is happening, she can explain, right, that she brought them there because the Doctor can destroy whatever's controlling her, which is the Daleks. And that all she knows about him is that whatever's controlling her is afraid of him. So yeah, when the Daleks figure it out, they take Rose because they know they can use her as some kind of leverage.
Right. Okay. So the controller could have kept Rose from being killed, maybe, if she cared. Like, I don't know how crucial Rose is, but could have kept Rose from being killed if it had been before all of the stuff started to get out, basically.
Probably. I do love watching
Rose
Rose struggle with the questions, though.
Yo, her acting in that scene is really, really good.
Yeah.
She gets across that panic that's, like, trying to get out, and you're trying so hard to keep it at bay.
Mm-hmm.
She really does.
The way she says Reykjavik, she's, like, struggling, like, what is a city in Iceland?
Right?
Reykjavik?
Oh. The way that she takes that really big breath and then says, shoes?
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, girl.
Mars?
Um,
Please let me guess one right.
Incorrect answer. The correct answer was Lucifer, to which I'm like, was it? Okay. So the Doctor escapes with Linda and is mentioned something about 100 years ago. And this is when he finds out that he is in the same place that they were in 100 years ago. And that everything happened starting when he shut down the news organization that had been here.
Yep.
Now, this is nonsense. Like, the idea that the entire human race backslid into being okay with, like, Hunger Games because there was no news. I mean, unless there's no organization set up to transmit any information that could take the place of this satellite at all.
Yeah, I don't think that you can take the blame of the fall of humanity if they have no initiative to do anything for themselves. Like, oh, our satellite isn't giving us the news anymore. I guess we're going to let the economy crash.
You know?
Government's going to fall apart. We can't do anything without the news.
Yeah, it really felt like, because he says something like, that was me. I did that. And I'm like, you really didn't. Yeah,
you destroyed a big slime monster and then told that girl, whose name I can't remember, to fucking figure it out.
Yeah,
figure out how to
take care of it.
Technically, it's her fault.
Yep. And I have to admit that I kind of expected, because we didn't get that long of a close-up on the face of the controller. So I kind of wondered if she was going to be the one.
That would have been interesting. They should have done that.
But I don't know how likely that she could. I don't know how long controllers live. Could she live 100 years?
It's the future, and maybe all that stuff that's, attached to her open brain in her forehead could have kept her alive. Like,
so creepy.
It's Doctor Who. I would have been like, all right.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And what a good callback that would have been.
But yeah, it turns out to be this other, like, the actress looks so familiar.
She does. She kind of looks like Allison Hannigan to me.
Oh, I see that. I was thinking Tilda Swinton, but it could just have been, like,
maybe it's
how pale
Allison
she
Hannigan
is.
and Tilda Swinton's love child.
Yes, I'm here for that. And yeah, like, every time we see her, I just get so disturbed. She's like, got all of these wires coming out of her entire body. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose is of her.
Me neither.
Like, how this is supposed to work, what she is in control of. Because she, like, manages to keep somebody from getting into Sector 6. But when they try and get in, she, like, sort of heaves as if it hurt her for them to try.
Yeah.
You know? So one would think that you would turn that kind of thing off so that it wouldn't. I don't know. It was just the whole organization of how this works is really weird and not clear. I like the nightmarish sort of aspect of it, and her being that, like, this thing that's, like, hooked up and not even really human anymore. But I wish that I understood better what her purpose is supposed to be here, because as far as we know, she's the only one. Am I wrong?
Seems like.
So, because that's the main thing, is that I was expecting that maybe every, like, 100 channels would have a controller. But if she's the only one, I don't understand where this concept even came from.
I think this is one of those situations where the writers don't expect people to really try to figure it out or make any kind of logical sense of it.
Okay.
It's, like, so visually arresting, and you get what you need to understand the stakes without having the science of it explained to you.
Well, so the thing that they need her for, right, is to call the doctor into the situation. Because she wants to be freed, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you would need somebody who knows what the doctor is. Right?
Yes. Yes.
I don't.
Which makes me wonder,
that's kind of where I'm coming
isn't
from.
she, like, beamed to the Daleks later?
Yes. Once she starts to try and tell them, like, she's at first covered by the solar flare and telling him what's going on. But then she gets interrupted because the solar flare is gone. And she attempts to continue talking to them about something that's going on around Earth, I think. And then gets zapped away.
And then when she's talking to them, she says that they can kill her now because she's brought about their destruction. So, okay. I was trying to think back, like, did they make her do all of this? But no, she did it on her own. So somehow she figured out that the doctor was the one thing that could stop them.
Right. Yeah, so that's really the thing for me, is, like, trying to figure out how she knew what she knew in order to summon him in the first place. Like, what kind of powers does she have if she's able to do something like that?
I don't know, because they said she's been doing this since she was, like, 5 years old or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, but it's not that important. I'm just kind of curious, like, trying to figure it out. So we have Captain Jack, who makes a giant gun and manages to get out of that whole area. We have the doctor, who's finding out that, like, all of this was his fault, but not really. He's in the middle of talking to Linda when Captain Jack shows up, and he has something that's, like, programmed to find Rose, which I don't know what that is, but he wants the doctor to patch it into this thing, and it turns out to not be compatible.
It's how he found the doctor. It's like the thing on his wrist. He was able to find the two hearts. So he knew he tracked the doctor that way, but then it wasn't able to just pick out Rose.
Okay, gotcha. And I really enjoy the doctor reprimanding him for flirting. I was just introducing myself. With you, that's flirting.
Yeah.
That seems fair, to be honest.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. And then we get the questions with Rose where she's realizing that her like literal life is on the line. And it's really hard to watch because she's doing this feeling like she's totally abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that they're desperately trying to figure out where she is. But she's like, I mean, it's not just feeling like there's nobody around. It's the weirdness of this set also makes you feel like you're in a void.
Yeah.
You know? And she guesses the face of Bo.
Yeah.
For one of them, which I enjoyed that callback as well, that she like at least gets one right because she remembers from her travels. In history, who was the president of the Red Velvets? Hoshpin Frayne. That is the correct answer. In food, the dish Jaffa Bek originated on which planet?
Mars.
Oh, poor Rose. She's flipping out. I love her. She's so good. And when it turns out that she has answered incorrectly finally, he's just standing there smiling, talking about how he did it, and looks at Rose and it's like, you lose. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude? She's about to die. Like, I totally get being glad that you're not going to die, but like, there is a way to handle the situation, and maybe not being exultant. You don't say you lose when the price of losing is death.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just too far. It's too far, sir.
You don't say you lose if the price is you just won Monopoly. Like, be a gracious winner. Have some good sportsmanship.
Oh, Jamie, you always have to take what I say a little too far.
I am lawful good, apparently. I just like good sportsmanship.
Listen, mostly I do also. But then there are times where I play with Owen. And in those times, I am like, in your face! And then I do a dance. Maybe like jump on him real quick for a second.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm like stealth super duper competitive when I play games, but I don't like to show it. And when I lose, I'm super pissed about it, but I refuse to let anybody know how mad I am. So I'm just like, good game, good job. I like try to be a good sport about it, even though inside I'm seething because I lost.
I love it.
Yeah. But I'm not like throwing the board game or anything, although in my head I really want to because I'm so mad.
I had a cousin do that to me once. I don't even remember what we were playing. And I remember just like being so disgusted as a child. I was just like, really, dude?
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and Rose is saying this game is illegal. I'm telling you to stop. And just as she's saying that, the doctor shows up and she goes and runs to him and she gets zapped in the middle of her run. And is nothing but dust on the floor.
Yeah.
Which I guess is just leftover residue from travel. Because you, of course, think that's her body.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a lot of dust to be left over from travel. How dirty are her clothes?
Right? Girl, go to a laundromat.
Space dust.
But yeah, I really thought that she was actually dead and that we were going to have to do some time travel shit or something to save her. Like, it didn't even occur to me that she was still alive somewhere else. I was like, welp, that sucks. And the doctor clearly is just like not hearing anything that anyone is saying to him because he's in the middle of getting arrested. And it's all like womp womp, womp 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 in the background.
And he's not even struggling or anything. He's just numb.
Yeah, exactly. And there is the weird scene of like sort of very fascist type police who have gathered them up And one of them's like grabbing Linda by the face and being like, I'm asking him the questions.
Yeah,
I'm
I did not like
you need
that.
to chill the fuck out. I'm sorry. I just got a text from Owen that he has been called into work again. And this is the third day in a row where he was supposed to get off work early and has been called in because somebody is called out.
Yeah. It's really, really annoying when your employees are not reliable.
It's just like, I think it's a combo of people who are not reliable, but also everybody has been getting sick lately.
Yeah.
So I think some of it is for real, you know, but it's just a bad combination. And he has worked like 10 days in a row now. Poor boy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just got the text because he wanted to let me know why he wasn't going to be home when I finished.
I feel bad. Poor Owen.
Me too. He works so hard, and I just wish that he could really take breaks, but it's always a day off with an undercurrent of anxiety that somebody is going to pull something like this. He can't ever really just sit back and enjoy himself.
You guys need to go on like a true vacation where you leave your house.
I think that we're going to skip the big wedding that I've been like kind of wanting in favor of a big vacation.
Really?
Yeah. I want the wedding, but it's one day and
Right.
the vacation is like 10, 12, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, 28 days.
A month.
Depending on how much we can afford.
Anyway. I am for it. You guys deserve it.
We'll see what happens. It won't be for years anyway. But, all right. So the doctor is getting his mugshot taken in the darkest room. Like, I found that so funny that he's getting his mugshot taken in a room that apparently has like one light bulb that only is at like half wattage anymore.
Well, did you notice that other than the Big Brother house, every room is kind of like that?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, there's very, very dim light pretty much everywhere. So they are like it looks like going to be escorted somewhere else. And then all of a sudden the doctor turns and says, let's do it. And they beat the shit out of all of these guards and bust the hell up out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
Which caused me to cheer mightily. Because I just had no idea that he was even with it enough to pull this off at this point, you know? It's just so... He looks so bereft.
Yeah.
You know? Completely in grieving mode. Not even quite in grieving mode yet. He's too far out for that yet.
I also like that there wasn't a set plan, but Jack knows exactly what he means and exactly what to do.
Yep. Yeah, they're a good team,
Mm-hmm.
as it turns out. So he goes upstairs and wants to talk to the controller. I love this so much more than it really deserves. But he goes upstairs and he's got this friggin' giant ass gun. And he's pointing it at her. He's pointing it at various people. Just kind of causing some anxiety at the fact that he has this giant ass gun. And don't be so thick, like I was ever going to shoot. And he tosses it to the guy and then is in the middle of trying to continue to ask her questions and says, what were you saying? And the guy's like, but I've got your gun. Okay, so shoot me. Why can't she answer? Can I put this down? If you want, just hurry up. That whole little weird interaction was so funny to me. Just like, I feel real weird holding your gun and trying to answer your questions like a human being. Can I just, not hold on to this way anymore? I just loved it so much. And the way the doctor is like willing to even answer him instead of just being like, oh my fucking God, and like decking the guy, which would be the thing I would be tempted to do. He's like, if you want, just be quick about it. So, all right.
This is when Jack finds the TARDIS.
Right. Because he's run off by himself. And he is able to hook in that finder. What's the word?
the thing on his wrist?
Yeah. What's it? Is a locator, I guess?
Sure.
And he figures out that she has been moved somewhere else, that it wasn't a, like, what do you call it? Disintegration ray.
Yeah.
And so there's some good news. And again, I was shocked because I should have known, but I really thought that she was dead and that this was going to be, because, you know, we're at the finale of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So her being dead and them having to figure out a way to go back in time and, like, fix it, even though that's not supposed to be part of the rules, I would be like, well, obviously Doctor Who is just going to ignore his own rule right now because this is somebody who's super important to him. I thought would have been a perfectly fitting finale sort of theme, right?
Yeah.
Breaking his own rules sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I like this better, and I didn't think of it, so I always like being surprised. And this is when he's demanding, the doctor that is, how the fuck everybody went along with this so much. And this woman says, we were just doing our jobs. And with that sentence, you just lost the right to even talk to me. Now back off.
And he's not wrong in that. Because they say complacency is as dangerous, or if not more dangerous.
It really is. You know, that's something that a lot of people, and what's so unfortunate is that in our minds, fascism is like a cartoon situation. It's so outside of the realm of what a lot of us in the modern age really believe is possible after we've gone through what we've gone through as a society, the number of times that we have, that we figure it is only possible for fascism to take hold in a country that is like does not have a good educational system at all, that doesn't have like the kind of resources that the United States has. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. It's sort of the same thing as like racism, where we act like if you say someone's racist, that you're saying that they're a member of the KKK. No, there are levels to things.
Mm-hmm.
And being racist is not a caricature either. Nobody's accusing you of being like a mythical figure if they say that you're racist. But we have these like extreme examples in our minds. And what's been going on in our own country lately has been I believe, the testing to see how much we will take.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And this kind of situation here with people who are just, quote, doing their jobs, even though it's this horrific, like, things can be very slowly accelerated and pushed to the next level. And we will have gone through such garbage already that it will seem like nothing by the time we get there. That's how it works, and that's how it's always worked. It's almost the same. Every time you look throughout history, the way that it's gone down has been really similar. It's just this really slow acceleration of what's the word I want?
Complacency and complicit. No?
Not exactly, but just like totalitarianism.
Yeah.
I guess the slow, like making it seem like, well, it's just for this one thing that we really need you guys to be willing to let us do whatever we want, because this is a really dangerous, extreme situation, but only this one thing. And then you slowly inch it up and then have it be, well, you know, for this other thing too, actually, this is also a really dangerous situation. I know it doesn't seem as bad as the other one, but it's really just as bad. And here's all the ways why. Until you get everybody constantly in fear all the time, and willing to do anything that they can to avoid the terrible fate that you swear will await them if they don't follow your orders. And it's if you read through history, guys, it's the same all the time.
Yep.
And we're falling for it right now. And it's so hard to watch because you try and warn people about it and they give you this look like you're making mountains out of molehills and exaggerating things just for the drama of it. And it's like, it's not, I don't enjoy this, you know?
Or they see something happen in a place that's not where they are. Like,
exactly.
Like taking away the vote from people in one community, say, well, that doesn't affect me because that's there and that's not my community. But that's a test market.
Yeah.
or making a filing with the courts saying that you don't want to have voting on this particular day because most of the people who vote on that day are African American and vote Democrat, and that passing. Well, that's a test market. Let's see if we can get away with this. And that leads to bigger things. And when you let the little things go because you think it's not going to affect everyone, so what can I do? And you don't fight against it, the next thing you know, it's in your community because it's been made law.
And you know what I think happens in situations like that sometimes is that when it's something that you read about and it's like, you know, for example, recently they made it so that people who only have a P.O. box as an address cannot vote. But many Native Americans only have a P.O. box provided by the United States government as their only address. So it obviously feels very targeted towards Native Americans and keeping them from being able to vote. Mm-hmm. And you see something like that. And as somebody who has lived in a mostly like in a bubble that makes you think that your society is reasonable and will see how unjust this is and fix it, you don't take action because you assume it will work itself out because it's so obvious how wrong this is that nobody's going to let it pass. And that's the complacency that I get worried about, is that we assume, because historically we have tended to move forward and progress to being more tolerant of different things, we assume that forward progress is a given and that it's simply like a byproduct of progressing forward in time. And that's not, people fought for all of that. And every person who fought for that was looked at as if they were pushing it too far at the time. Yeah. So we just all sort of take it for granted that things are going to be resolved in a reasonable fucking manner because we haven't had to watch people fight for things to be reasonable.
Right. We've only had history books and the versions of history books that we're allowed to get in school. Yep. That don't really tell the whole story and leave out all of the little things that built up to it. It's just Rosa Parks on a bus. It's just Martin Luther King leading people across the bridge in Selma. It's not all the other things that led to those things and the reasons why they started doing the things they were doing. And to bring it back to, you know, these people just, it's just my job. Wait, I had a point and I lost it when I started thinking about specific things about the civil rights movement. Shit.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Point. Nope, I lost it. Sorry, guys. I had a really good point.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
I know how that is.
It's just, it was not going to be a happy thought. It's that things currently, if we're going to keep talking about now, but also relate it to what these people are like, well, what was I supposed to do? It's just my job. Is everything now happens so fast that we get outraged about something like kids being kept in these camps, these tent cities, and then all this other shit happens and we stop fighting that because now we're fighting this and that stuff's still going on, and then suddenly people are being like, children and mothers are being tear gassed and we're mad about that, so we're focused on that. We're not focused on the fact that there are still people being held in camps. And the more we ignore that, the more they can do it, and it grows bigger and bigger, and the next thing you know, well, America's full of concentration camps, and who's tried to stop it? Yep. It's just all happening at such a pace because every day is another thing that people get exhausted. And it's just...
And I know a lot of people like are tempted to be like, yeah, well, you know, they're just trying to distract you. And it's like, no, the other things that are happening are not just distractions. They're also very, very serious. Yeah. That, like, the things that we're getting, quote, distracted by are very worthy of attention. It's just that we are not capable of keeping one thing in the news cycle for long enough because of the way things work now.
It's like trying to fight a hydra.
Yep.
It's every day, it's another thing. And how many fronts are on this war? And how many soldiers do we have? And people get tired. And then the people who are against it and fighting in their own way are like, I need a break. I can't do it. I'm so tired. And then they get out of the habit, if you can say it's a habit, of constantly fighting and end up being complacent in another way, where it's like, I can't fight everything. So,
and there's also the aspect that they're using working class people to enforce a lot of this stuff. Like, these people are saying, this is just my job. These aren't millionaires here. These are just, seem like kind of average folks that wound up with this horrific job. And it's exactly the same, people who work in ICE and whatnot. And it's like, how did you fucking wind up here? But they're helping to uphold this all, and they're just regular people.
Right. My grandfather my grandfather fought in World War II, and he had a very deep hatred of Germans and couldn't keep himself from hating all of them, because he said it wasn't just the German army.
Right.
There were all these people that lived there that allowed that to happen. And he liberated a concentration camp. He really saw some shit.
Yeah.
And was like, I can't forgive them for sitting back and letting it happen. And I think about that anytime I start to feel like I have no more fight in me. I remember what he told me. And I'm like, you know what? I absolutely do. I am not going to look back on my life and say I gave up and I let it happen. This got dark.
Yeah. But honestly, like, it is the sort of thing that I just get, because it's the other thing between it being regular people who often uphold this sort of thing. It's really easy to be like, oh, there's these, like, evil rich overlords who make it all happen. And it's like, yeah, but folks who just don't question shit and just want a job and to feed their family are often the people who get preyed upon to continue that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also the idea that, well, we're upholding the law. Laws can be wrong, everyone. I know this is a shocking revelation, but just because something is against the law does not mean it's wrong. It could mean that the law is unjust and wrong.
Right.
And so many of the things that had happened during World War II were lawful and also horrifying.
Yep.
So, people talking about, well, ICE is just, upholding that. Yeah. And that's garbage. And we need to change that. That's the problem. But anyway.
So then you can end up with a satellite that's beaming people being killed for your viewing pleasure. And you're like, well, I mean, I had to feed my family. What was I supposed to do?
Yep.
That's how you get that girl that the doctor's like, you can stop talking to me right now.
Yes. So finally, the controller gets the doctor's attention, kind of comes down to herself and says that she's blind. All my life blind. All I can see is numbers, but I saw you. Solar flares are hiding me. They can't listen. My masters listen, but they can't hear me now. And they wired my head. The name's forbidden. They control my thoughts. My masters. I had to be careful. They monitor transmission, but they don't watch the programs. I could hide you in the games. I knew you'd find me. And he says, my friend died in the games, and she says it doesn't matter. And he says, don't you dare tell me that. They've been hiding, my masters, hiding in the dark space, watching and shaping the earth so many years. Always been there, guiding humanity, hundreds and hundreds of years. Who are they? They wait and plan and grow in numbers so strong. And he's like, who are they? And she just keeps talking. But they speak of you, my masters. They fear the doctor. And just as she's about to finally tell him who they are, she sort of like, her head goes back. And obviously she gets like put back online. And a second later gets zapped away. So that was depressing. This chick listen, I don't know how many people who are listening to this have also read the 5th season, which has been commissioned by one of my listeners. I think Ashlyn is the commissioner for 5th season. But if you have, you will know what this reminded me of and how incredibly fucked up that is in the books. And I just had a hard time handling this and realizing that she wound up being not a huge factor in this episode, because I thought she was going to wind up being a big part of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one could argue that she is a big part if she's the one that got the Doctor here in the first place, but you know what I mean. She winds up being killed off pretty quickly. And Jack figures out that Rose is being kept somewhere, and then we go to Rose, who is being zeroed in on by some camera lens, and gets up and hides against the wall and is like, it can't be. And that was when I was like, oh, okay, it's Daleks, because the way that the camera followed her was really similar to the way that it had followed her in that other episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we see a little plunger.
Yes. And this girl, that had gotten zapped away, wakes up. She's albino and has all of these portholes on her front for the ports to have gone through. It's really awful. The look of her skin and everything from having this done to her. Ugh, it's gross. But yeah, she's like, yeah, go ahead and kill me, whatever. And they're like, all right, we will, thanks.
Yep.
So, yeah. Oh God, I forgot about Cap and Jack flirting with the dude who runs the place, Davich Pavale. Davich. There's a time and a place. So,
for Jack, that's every time, all the places.
It's really true. So it turns, this is when the Doctor is like, all right, clearly there's something more going on here. And they are able to figure out where the transmat, which is what they're calling it, sent Rose, which appears to be a big blank hole in space. And he's like, well, it's not blank. There's something there, but we just can't see it. And he figures out how to cancel some different signals that appear to be covering it. And as he does that, a bunch of ships become visible.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds?
200.
Yikes.
And he says, inside each of those is more than 2,000 Daleks.
Yeah.
So
he's like, they're supposed to be gone. And he's like, obviously they survived.
Yep.
I'm like, yikes. That's about 500,000 of them.
Mm-hmm. So then the Daleks open communication. We have your associate.
Please keep on doing that.
I like that they call her his associate.
The female will stand. The whole thing. It's just, they are so hysterical.
I know.
Guys, Krista designed an amazing unspoiled Dalek shirt that says, "Where is my orange juice?" And it's the best thing ever, and it's going to be on the merch store. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you, Krista, for that design, and Jamie for the idea to do that.
It is so much better than I pictured in my head, and when she made it, I was just like, I fucking love you. Thank you so much.
For those who don't remember, the first time that I met the Daleks, I said that they were like old men at diners demanding where their orange juice is. And so she made this Dalek carry a cane and have an old driving cap on. So it's just excellent.
It is. I can't wait to order one.
So the Daleks are holding Rose hostage and tell him that he's not going to do anything while they basically blow up the planet. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to just not do anything, you dummies. I'm going to get there and I'm going to find you and I'm going to take her back and I'm going to kill every fucking last one of you. And they're like, but you don't have any weapons and you don't have any plan. And he's like, I know. And doesn't that just scare you to death? And I was like, you know what? Actually, that's pretty good. Like, I feel like that could easily have made me roll my eyes if it had been anybody else. But it does make me go, well, what the fuck are you going to do, guy?
I really like that his inherent nature is to be nice and friendly, that when the communication opens, he goes, hello, and gives this little wave. Like, he's just so... He knows he's in this horrible situation, and Rose is in a horrible situation, but that's still his first instinct is, hello.
That's true. I didn't even notice that. That's funny. Poor Rose, man. She's having a bad fucking day.
At least she didn't die yet.
That's true.
I mean, she is surrounded by these little
murder
trash
machines
cans screaming exterminate, but I love them.
And usually when I say that somebody is just a little trash can, that's just me insulting them. But these really do look like little trash cans.
I can't explain why I love Daleks as much as I do, but I have from the very first time I saw one on this show. I was just like, I love them. What
Did you see that? Did you see that gingerbread woman?
Yes.
That I made?
Yeah.
I didn't mean it, guys, but I posted it in the patrons group. I was making decorated cookies, and I decorated one of their skirts, and then when I backed up and looked at it, I was like, well, that's a Dalek. That's what that is. I did not mean it, but there it is.
It brought me such joy because a year ago you would never have thought it.
Nope.
And I
never
love
would
that
even have known what
you
that
looked
was.
at it and you're like, oh, I turned her into a Dalek. Just makes me happy.
So yeah, I have no idea what he's going to do to get out of that. How he's even going to get over there. I don't know how much the people that are working there really even understand the gravity of the situation and how much they'll be able to help him. I'm just really and so the Daleks basically started these games as a slow build to killing the entire human race. Is that right?
Well, they installed the Jagrafess, which was the big slime monster. So they've been playing a really long game by trying to direct or orchestrate the direction of humanity.
I'm not sure I get it.
Well, it's what the doctor says. Let me find it. He says, these are the same people who installed the Jagrafess nearly 2 centuries before and have been manipulating mankind for generations. So they're making them weak and complacent. They know that the doctor, I don't know if it's all to get the doctor or if it's just because they figured out that they could manipulate this planet of creatures and take it over. But they had to make them really weak and defenseless first.
Okay.
Because when the Jagrafess was in charge, it was all these news stories and keeping people in their homes by, oh, there's poison gas in the air, whatever. And who knows how much of it was true. It's just what they were putting out on the news and everybody just believed it because it was on television.
Huh, okay.
And now, when that didn't work, they changed over to game shows where everybody is just glued to their TVs and the planet is falling apart. Because when we see it, it's there's no green left. It's just this drab gray planet.
Although I have to say, if people were just staying indoors and not doing anything, then maybe it would do the planet a bit of a favor.
Yeah, well, maybe.
But who knows?
Let's try that.
But yeah, okay, so, because I guess I just figured that when he says that, the Daleks like to exterminate entire groups of people, that they would have, just blown up the planet or something like that, you know?
Yeah, well, you'd think that would be a lot faster and easier.
One would think.
But for whatever reason, they're doing this with this long plan to, I don't know. Maybe they think the doctor really cares more about humans than other creatures, and so they're trying to really get to him.
Huh. Okay.
He always does end up back on Earth, you know?
That's true, though. Yeah, of all the places that they could go, he does wind up on Earth quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I would imagine that if she's picking where they go, I would probably wind up picking different places on Earth a lot. If he lets her have her choice every now and then.
Yeah. Seems like every time they go anywhere else, I mean, any time they go anywhere, it's dangerous, even when they're on Earth. But anytime they go to any other place, you know, Rose is getting zapped places or captured or whatever.
Poor Rose. Okay, so, yeah, I'm just curious to see how people, if they wind up agreeing to help the Doctor with his plan, because they were there to see this whole thing, so they know what's going on. But, like, if they're still scared enough or, you know, blind enough, then they might just continue doing what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Also, without the controller, I'm wondering what's going on with all the news stations and the games and stuff. Do those still work?
I don't know.
Because I kind of want to... what I want to imagine is that as soon as she got zapped away, all of the doors opened and everybody got released. Which is, I'm sure, not at all what happened. But, all right, yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen, but this is the finale episode.
The next one, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And then the week after the next one is Christmas week,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
So that actually, the timing works out really well because Jaime and I, well, I'm going to be taking a break for all of Christmas week. So you and I will have covered the whole first season by the time we take our little holiday break.
Yep.
And that'll be lovely. I love when things work out like that. And Miles and I are going to be covering the Christmas special for Black Mirror for those of you who are $5 and up patrons. So that timing has worked out well too. I've just wound up with all kinds of great timing this year. Is there anything else about this episode that you wanted to mention?
No, because anything else would lead to
Spoilers?
Yeah, like stuff that happens next, and so I think we're good till next week.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I really liked this episode. It was a little confusing in places for certain things but you know, it's mostly stuff that doesn't really matter. I do have, you know what I forgot to mention that I thought was really funny? That the Doctor is in the middle of being like, oh, everybody's just so blind, all these sheep watching their TVs. But have you seen that one with 3 people and a bear? And he like gets really excited talking about this show that he likes. And I really love that because like, that's just so true of human nature is that we all like talk about how dumb humans are for falling for this bullshit, but we all actually fall for that bullshit though.
Yep.
You know, like we do. That's why it works. And then we pat ourselves on the back for being so much more elevated than everybody else. And it's just such bullshit.
We all just want to be entertained.
It's true though. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like I'm not casting aspersions on entertainment. But there are, I think, some sorts of entertainment that are more nourishing to you than other types, I have to say.
Absolutely.
So, that's why I finally stopped watching, like, Real Housewives, because was it fun? Oh, yes, it was very fun. But also sort of decays your mind, because you're just like, oh, these are terrible people concerned with really stupid nothing problems.
That's the kind of stuff my boyfriend tends to end up working on. Are those kinds of shows.
Oh, bless him.
And I get to listen to him complain for the entire stretch of the show about how miserable he is because he has to sit there with a camera and listen to these people talk about their dumb bullshit that doesn't matter. And all I want is for him to be on something like Survivor where at least there's a competition involved. Still dumb people, but at least there's competition. It's not...
Yeah.
It's not quite as produced as those shows are.
Yeah, those shows used to like they'll really skew your like view of reality after a while.
It's
like,
not reality though.
But that's what I mean, is that it's not, and so you like get sucked into it being like, yeah, but it's all real, and you have to like remind yourself, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's absolutely none of this is, and nobody lives like this, and half the people who pretend to live like this are in huge amounts of debt. Like, but yeah, anyway, but I really liked that moment, and the girl being like, yes, they still have that one, and like talking about it, which I'm sure the bear is a robot, and the bear will eat you if you lose.
This episode just always stuck with me. I always would forget that it ends where it ends, that it ends with Dalek invasion. I always just remember the game show aspect of it, and when the episode where they went to Satellite 5 the first time, I was like, wait, but we haven't met Captain Jack yet. How are we here already? And I realized, like, oh, there's two of these, because I always remember the game shows, and the ladies' your viewing numbers went up.
That's a pretty good quote, to be honest.
It's my favorite Captain Jack moment. And not just because he's standing there naked.
Isn't it?
I like him a lot. He's very pleasing. He's a charming man.
He's very pleasing. Yeah, I've come around on him because, like I said, him having played Malcolm Merlin and another bad guy in something else, I just immediately was like, nope, not on board with this guy. But there are so many people who are like commenting how funny they found that because they saw him first in this.
Me
and
too.
then seeing him be a bad guy was really... So, yeah.
I couldn't take him seriously as a bad guy for a while because I was like, come on, Captain Jack. You're a charming motherfucker.
Did you watch Arrow?
I did for 4 seasons.
I think it's the end of the second season where he just has one line and it's redundancy. And I was watching it with Brendan, and Brendan like yelled because it's a reveal of something that's like really important and kind of badass. And I will never forget thinking like, man, that actor could make the word redundancy like a great line. That's really talent right there.
He's very talented.
Yep.
I love him very much on this show.
So, do we have any new reviews?
We don't. Okay.
Well, to everybody who has left reviews so far, thank you very much. Because we've been getting them at a pretty good clip, honestly. And if you haven't already done that, please consider it because it's a free way to support us. And if you find yourself tuning in every week, that means that you like us. And if you like us, that means that you should do something to tell us that. You know, give us a little rating there.
Yeah, a little pat on the back. It always helps.
So that's all we ask.
Yep.
We don't want your money. We do want your money. I lied. Give us your money. But also, please leave a review.
Check out the merch store, especially once the Dalek is up.
Yes, I'm going to be trying to do that this weekend. Or this week. God, do you know what I just thought? It was Thursday because we normally record Thursday. And I got so confused, Jamie. I was recording on Sober. And I did the Spoil Me intro by accident instead of on Sober. And then I tried to correct it. And then I said, this is unspoiled. And they were like, no, it's unsober. What are you doing? And then once we actually started the episode, I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I've just been doing so many unspoileds. People are commissioning them. And they're like, they're commissioning Spoil Me's. And I'm like, oh my God, I quit. I fucking quit. Forget it. Like, I just could not get it right. For 10 straight minutes, every time I spoke, it was the wrong thing.
God, it might be that you do too many shows.
I don't. I do, but shut up.
I would like to plug Lost, Unspoiled, The Constant, Lost, because the episode that'll be going up this week, we have Maggie on.
Yay!
It's
That's
been
fun.
Almost exactly a year since she was a guest on our show, and it's the first time we've had a guest in a really long time because we haven't had any on since season 3, and we're in season 6. So
wow, yeah, that is a while.
Yeah, it's fun to have Maggie on. We got to talk about Richard Alpert, which is why she came on. Everybody loves
Which
Richard.
one's that?
Richard is the immortal guy with eyeliner.
Oh, the eyeliner. Yeah, that guy.
Not wearing eyeliner, but yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy I went to high school with who looked like he had eyeliner on, but it was just the way his face was.
Yeah, I read an interview with him where he said that it was brought up so much when he was a kid, he used to cut his eyelashes off.
Oh, the poor little sausage.
But yeah, Maggie's a big fan of him. We're all big fans of him. So we had her on for his like signature solo episode.
That's cool.
Yeah, give it a listen. It's fun.
Give it a listen.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think next week I'll read the new patrons because I've been meaning to keep up on that more, but I fell out of the habit, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe just starting so many other things kind of got me mixed up.
I'm sure it started to feel really repetitive too if you do it on every show.
Yeah, I think that I was trying to do it on like the very most popular shows that seemed to be the ones that people were mostly, becoming patrons because of those shows. And yeah, I just need to get back on that because Dresden Files and Doctor Who are probably going to be those two for me now.
Cool.
So yeah, if you've become a patron, you'll hear your name next week, I promise.
Become a patron.
Do it.
Only $1.
Patreon.com/unspoiled. And you get so much stuff. Like I was talking to some people recently about why I'm doing better on Patreon than a lot of podcasts are. And I firmly believe it's because I offer so much even to $1 patrons because I have such a huge back catalog of patrons only stuff that people can just like, sign up and have like 2 full straight weeks solid of material to listen to.
Yeah.
So
I'm a patron of some other shows and I get very little for a $5 donation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed how many do like little 15-minute shows as bonus stuff, and I do full-size shows.
Yep.
I don't half-ass this shit, guys. Not that I'm saying anybody's half-assing anything. They have other jobs. That's the thing. But
Yeah.
So yeah, just check that out, guys. And you know where to find us, patreon.com/unspoiled, facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter @unspoiledshow, Instagram @unspoiledpodcast, and unspoiledpodcast.com. .com. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Jamie, for being here.
My pleasure.
We will be seeing you next week with a new episode.
With the finale.
Motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.